She gave her blood to an alien warrior. What he gave back shocked her. The rocky plains stretched endlessly, dotted with jagged metal remains of long-abandoned equipment. Most days, the outpost was quiet, except for the occasional supply ship docking and the distant hum of the planetary generators. But today, the silence felt heavier, almost tense, as though the wind itself was holding its breath. Ilara's boots crunched over frost-covered stones as she made her way to the supply depot. She carried a small medical pack filled with essentials: synthetic bandages, antiseptics, and a few vials of universal human blood substitutes for emergencies. She knew every tool by heart, but instinct told her that today would be different. Something in the air made her heart beat faster, not with fear but anticipation. Halfway to the depot, a faint movement caught her eye. At first, she thought it was a shadow or a trick of the wind. Then she saw it, a massive figure slumped against a rock, its body twisted unnaturally. It was alive, but barely. Ilara froze for a moment, studying the figure. The skin was unlike anything she had ever seen, a deep iridescent blue with streaks of silver, almost like metal reflected in moonlight. The creature's chest rose and fell in shallow, irregular breaths. Instinct kicked in. Ilara ran toward the figure, careful not to make noise that could startle it. As she approached, she realized it was not human, not even close. Its limbs were longer than any human's, and its hands had extra joints that allowed each finger to bend in strange ways. The face was partially hidden under a hood-like structure, but a hint of glowing amber eyes peeked out. "Ilara," she whispered to herself, gripping her medical pack tighter. "What are you doing here?" The alien did not answer. Its breathing was shallow, ragged, as though each inhale required effort. Ilara knelt beside it, scanning for injuries. Deep gashes streaked across its chest and shoulders, and dark fluid pooled around its body. She recognized it immediately: the Scifi. Stories about them had circulated for decades. Tall, strong, and fierce warriors who rarely ventured near human colonies unless there was conflict or a threat. No human had ever met one up close, and now here she was, staring at one that might die before she could help. Ilara's hands shook, but her training took over. She opened her pack and pulled out antiseptic gel, applying it carefully to the largest wound. The alien flinched but did not pull away. Its glowing eyes studied her, curious and cautious, as though it had never seen a human this close before. "Okay," she muttered under her breath. "We can do this, you'll be fine." But she knew better. The wounds were deep and the alien's physiology was different. Standard human treatment might not be enough. She checked the alien's vitals, which were almost imperceptible. The heart rate was dangerously low. I might have to do more," she said softly. Ilara considered her options. She had learned a few experimental techniques during her training, but nothing this extreme. The colony had no equipment capable of Scifi medicine, no serum, no nanotech. If she wanted to save this life, it would require a personal risk. Her mind raced. Scifi blood had unique enzymes that helped them heal rapidly when properly stimulated, but human blood, that was almost untested. And yet she remembered an old emergency protocol from her medical training. If no other option exists, human blood can sometimes stabilize a non-human in critical condition. Ilara took a deep breath. Her heart pounded, and sweat dampened her brow. "It's now or never," she whispered. She drew a vial of her own blood and prepared to administer it intravenously. Her hands moved steadily, even as fear and curiosity collided in her chest. As she inserted the tube into the alien's arm, the creature flinched sharply. Amber eyes widened and it let out a sound, low, guttural, but not aggressive. It seemed startled, as though it did not expect a human to offer its own life force willingly. "SHH, it's okay," Ilara said softly, brushing her fingers against its arm. "I'm helping you. You'll get through this." Minutes passed, each one feeling like an eternity. The alien's breathing gradually steadied, and its color began to change, shifting from dull gray-blue to a faint, healthier shade. Ilara exhaled, relieved. She had no idea if it would survive long-term, but at least it was stable for now. Then something unexpected happened. The alien moved its head slightly, its eyes locking onto hers. There was intelligence there, curiosity, and she could swear, gratitude. It was the first time she truly saw Kale, the warrior beneath the blue skin. Ilara smiled faintly. "You're strong," she said. "I think you'll make it." Kale made another sound, almost like a growl, but it was soft, deliberate. Then, very carefully, it extended a hand toward her. Not in aggression, but in some kind of gesture, a recognition, perhaps, that he understood she had saved him. Alara hesitated. She had read about Scifi rituals of acknowledgement, but she never expected to experience one firsthand. She touched his hand lightly, feeling the alien's strange, warm energy pulse beneath her fingers. "You're alive," she murmured, almost to herself. "And you trust me?" Kale blinked slowly, then moved his other hand toward his chest, as if to signal something important. Alara leaned closer, straining to see. There, etched into his armor, were markings, symbols that seemed to shimmer faintly. She could not read them, but their importance was undeniable. For the first time, she realized that this was more than a wounded warrior. Kale's presence, his survival, could change everything she knew about the galaxy, and she had a part in it, whether she was ready or not. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed across the plains. Rocks shifted, and a distant screech made her jump. Alara's instincts screamed danger. "Kale, we need to move. Now!" Kale stirred, his amber eyes narrowing, scanning the horizon. Despite his injuries, there was a strength there, a warrior's instinct kicking in. He rose slightly, testing his limbs, and then, with surprising speed, he stood fully. Alara was amazed. "You're already getting better," she said, astonished. "I didn't expect that." Kale's eyes locked on hers again, and she felt a connection, something beyond words. Humans might call it trust, Scifi might call it honor. Whatever it was powerful, and it made her heart beat faster. "Come on," she urged, glancing over her shoulder. "We don't have much time, something's coming." With a slow, careful step, Kale followed her. Every movement was cautious but purposeful. He seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. Together, they moved toward the outpost, one human and one alien, united by a fragile, newly formed bond. The journey was difficult. The terrain was uneven, and Kale's injuries caused him to stumble occasionally. Alara supported him, using every ounce of strength she had. She marveled at his resilience. Even in pain, he moved with the grace and precision of a trained warrior. As they neared the colony's perimeter, a shadow moved across the horizon. Alara froze, her heart racing. Kale tensed beside her, ready to fight if necessary. Whatever was out there, it would test both of them and their trust in each other more than they could imagine. Alara looked at Kale, seeing the warrior fully now, not just a patient. "We're in this together," she said firmly. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Kale's eyes glowed briefly, a sign of acknowledgement. It was all the answer she needed. The outpost gates came into view, flickering lights signaling activity inside. Safety, or at least temporary shelter, was close. Alara quickened her pace, urging Kale along. Each step felt heavier, but also lighter, filled with hope. For the first time in her long, quiet life on Vega 12, she felt that something extraordinary had just begun. And in the still, icy plains, two unlikely allies moved forward, human and Scifi, bound by courage, trust, and a single, selfless act that neither of them would ever forget. The gates of Colony Outpost Vega 12 creaked open, revealing the warm glow of the interior lights. Alara guided Kale carefully through the narrow passage, supporting his weight as he leaned heavily on her. The outpost felt strangely alive tonight. Usually, the corridors were quiet except for the soft hum of the air filtration system. But now there was a low murmur of activity. Colony workers were moving quickly, speaking in hushed tones, some casting glances toward the entrance. Alara kept her voice low. "We need to get you to the medical bay. You can't stay out here, not in your condition." Kale blinked, amber eyes scanning the surroundings. His gaze lingered on every detail, the humans, the blinking consoles, the walls lined with equipment he could not name. He did not speak, but Alara could sense his awareness, a careful observation of everything around him. They reached the medical bay, a small room filled with shelves of supplies, scanning devices, and a single med bed. Alara helped Kale lie down. "I'll be honest," she said, checking the wounds again. "I don't know if the usual human treatments will work on you completely. But we'll try everything." Kale moved slightly, his hand brushing against hers, stopping her from preparing an antiseptic spray. It was almost like a warning, gentle but firm. Alara hesitated, studying him. There was a silent intelligence in that gesture. He was telling her that he understood her intentions, yet he needed to maintain some control over his own recovery. Alara nodded slowly, realizing that this was more than a simple patient-doctor interaction. "Okay," she said. "We do it your way. I'll help, but you guide me." Kale's eyes seemed to soften, just a fraction. Then, with surprising speed for someone injured so severely, he lifted his arm. In the corner of the room, a small Scifi relic glimmered faintly, a personal object he had brought with him. It pulsed subtly, reacting to the alien's presence. Alara's curiosity got the better of her. "What is that?" she asked. Kale's head tilted slightly. He did not answer in words, but the relic floated gently toward her, stopping just a few inches from her hand. She reached out, careful not to touch it directly, and felt a subtle warmth, almost like a heartbeat. "Your energy," she murmured. "It's responding to you." Kale blinked and moved his other hand toward the medbed. It was clear he wanted her to focus on him first. Alara understood. She prepared the IV lines and carefully attached them to the alien's veins. As the fluids began to flow, Kale's breathing became smoother. He seemed to sense the change immediately, his eyes flickering with amber light, stronger than before. Minutes passed in silence, punctuated only by the occasional hiss of the IV system. Alara watched him, fascinated. She had studied alien biology in theory, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. Every system in his body seemed to respond to human care differently. His muscles, even those damaged, began to twitch with renewed energy, and his skin regained some of its metallic sheen. Then came the moment she did not expect. Kale moved a hand toward her chest, almost as if pointing at her. Alara froze. Could he sense the blood she had given him? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. She had acted purely on instinct, never imagining that such a bond could form so quickly. Kale leaned closer, and for the first time, Alara noticed a faint bioluminescent pattern appearing along his neck and shoulders. It pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat, synchronized in some mysterious way with her own. She realized with a mixture of awe and fear that this was a Scifi ritual of debt, a bond formed when life was shared. You don't understand," she whispered, stepping back slightly. "I only wanted to save you." Kale's glowing eyes met hers. In that moment, she could feel a strange energy passing between them, not threatening but profound. She understood that by giving him her blood, she had unknowingly invoked an ancient promise. The Scifi never forgot a life given freely. And now Kale was bound to her and she to him. Alara swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. "Bound how?" she asked softly, more to herself than to him. Kale did not answer in words. Instead, he shifted slightly, moving closer, then stopping, as though respecting her space while still communicating his awareness. Alara realized she had to accept this bond if she wanted him to survive fully. There was no turning back now. The colony's alarms suddenly blared, breaking the fragile quiet. Red lights flashed, casting shadows across the walls. Alara's heart jumped. "What now?" she muttered, checking the monitors. The external sensors showed movement near the perimeter, fast, deliberate. Someone or something was coming. Kale tensed beside her, every muscle alert. The Scifi warrior instinct was back, alive and ready. He moved with purpose, eyes scanning the room for anything useful, anything he could use to protect them both. "They're scouts," Alara whispered. "They must have tracked you." Kale's hand brushed hers just once as though to reassure her. She felt a rush of warmth, a strange sense of security despite the danger. Together, they moved to a side exit, slipping through maintenance tunnels that led to a concealed hangar. Alara's mind raced. Whoever or whatever was outside would not expect her to be helping a Scifi. Most humans in the colony distrusted them, even feared them. And now, with Kale alive and moving, those fears could erupt into chaos. They reached the hangar and Kale paused. He extended his arm toward the ceiling, and with a soft hum, a panel opened to reveal a sleek shuttle. Alara had seen these only in manuals. They were small, designed for 2 passengers at most. She realized Kale had not come unprepared. Despite his injuries, he had planned for survival, always aware of contingencies. "Climb in," he motioned. Alara hesitated, glancing back toward the tunnels, but Kale's gaze held a quiet insistence. She trusted him. Slowly, she stepped inside. The shuttle's interior was minimal but functional. Kale guided her to a seat, his movements careful but efficient. Alara couldn't help but notice the strength in his limbs, even when damaged. The Scifi were truly warriors, built for survival in harsh conditions, yet capable of gentleness when necessary. Once she was secured, Kale moved to a console and activated the controls. The shuttle hummed softly, lifting off the ground. Outside, she saw the colony lights shrinking as they rose. The alarms still blared faintly, but they were leaving the immediate danger behind. Alara exhaled, trying to calm herself. I don't even know your name, she said, turning toward him. Kale looked at her, then tapped his chest. Kale, he said finally, his voice deep but cautious, unfamiliar with human speech yet managing the sounds carefully. Ilara, she replied, smiling faintly. I guess we're partners now. Kale's eyes glowed softly, and a faint vibration passed through the shuttle. Ilara felt it in her chest, as if the bond between them was more than emotional. It was physical, real, and undeniable. She shivered, partly from the sensation, partly from the weight of responsibility. As they left the colony behind, the darkness of space stretched endlessly outside the shuttle windows. Ilara couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. A simple act of kindness had created a link that neither of them fully understood. She wondered if humans could ever form bonds like this naturally, or if this was something unique, something extraordinary. Kale, she said softly, I don't know what will happen next, but thank you. Kale's head tilted slightly. The amber glow in his eyes softened, almost as if he understood her words. No human had ever thanked him for life before. The gesture, small yet profound, seemed to resonate deeply within him. Suddenly, a new alert lit up the shuttle console. Sensors detected movement, faster than before. They're catching up, Ilara said, gripping the edge of her seat. Kale's eyes narrowed, and he pressed a series of buttons with precision. The shuttle responded instantly, veering sharply into a hidden corridor of space lanes used only by military or rogue pilots. Ilara's heart raced. You know these routes? She asked, impressed. Kale's jaw tightened. Prepared, he said simply. No more words were needed. Every movement, every calculation he made showed not just intelligence but foresight. He was a warrior, and now she realized something more. He would protect her not out of obligation but because the bond demanded it. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the soft hum of the engines. Ilara watched Kale from the corner of her eye. The injuries were healing faster than she expected, and yet she could see the strain in his expression. It was as though her blood had done more than stabilize him. It had awakened something in his body, something that made him stronger, faster, more alert. And she realized, with a mixture of fear and awe, that this bond was not one-sided. She felt it too, her reflexes sharper, her senses heightened. A warmth spread through her, faint but insistent, as if Kale's energy was weaving into her very being. Ilara whispered softly, almost to herself, I feel it too. Kale glanced at her briefly, amber eyes flickering. Then he looked forward, scanning the dark lanes of space ahead. Whatever lay ahead, whatever challenges awaited, they would face them together. For the first time since she arrived on Vega 12, Ilara felt a spark of hope. She had saved a life, yes, but in doing so she had gained something far greater, a companion, a protector, and a glimpse of humanity's potential when courage and trust were placed above fear. And in the cold void of space, two unlikely allies, bound by blood and courage, began a journey that neither could have predicted. The shuttle hummed through the endless black of space, its hull glinting faintly under distant stars. Ilara sat in her seat, staring out at the void, still trying to make sense of everything that had happened. Kale was in the pilot's seat, focused, his hands moving over the controls with precision. His amber eyes flicked from panel to panel, scanning every readout, every blip on the radar. Kale, Ilara said softly, breaking the silence, how long until we reach safe space? He did not answer immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the navigation console. Finally he spoke, his voice low and steady, careful with each human word. Too close, they follow. Ilara's stomach tightened. They're tracking us, even out here? Kale nodded. Not human, faster than most human vessels, aggressive, they will not stop. Ilara's mind raced. The colony's scouts, the rogue faction, she didn't know exactly who was chasing them, but the danger was real. Her heart pounded as adrenaline surged through her, and yet she felt a strange sense of calm. With Kale beside her, she felt stronger, more capable. Kale, she whispered, I don't know what you are, but I'm glad you're here. He glanced at her briefly, eyes softening. There was no smile, but something in that gaze reassured her. Then his attention returned to the controls. Minutes stretched into hours as they moved deeper into uncharted space. The shuttle's small cabin was filled with a quiet tension. Ilara kept checking Kale's injuries. Most had healed remarkably fast, but there were faint bruises along his shoulders and chest. She could see the faint glow of bioluminescent patterns still pulsing across his skin, reminders of the bond they shared. You're healing fast, she said, faster than I expected. Kale's amber eyes flicked toward her. Your blood, he said simply. It accelerates my recovery. Enhances my strength temporarily. Alara's mouth went dry. You mean it's like you're stronger because of me? Kale inclined his head slightly. Yes, you share life, it responds. Your body gives energy, my body adapts. Alara stared at her hands. She had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could create something so extraordinary. The implications were staggering. Not only had she saved a life, but she had unknowingly enhanced a warrior beyond his natural limits. Suddenly, the shuttle jolted violently. Warning lights flashed as the cabin shook. Alara clutched the edge of her seat. What was that? Kale's eyes narrowed. They attack. Alara turned to see blips on the radar, small, fast-moving ships converging on them. Kale's hands moved rapidly over the controls, tilting the shuttle, dodging blasts of energy that streaked past. Hold on, he said, his voice calm but commanding. The first hit rocked the shuttle, throwing Alara forward. She gritted her teeth and pressed herself against the seat. Kale maneuvered expertly, his reflexes astonishing. Every movement was precise, almost preternatural. It was clear that the bond between them, the sharing of life, was giving her a sense of the Saratha's abilities. Her own reactions sharpened. She ducked instinctively as another energy bolt streaked past the window. Alara's breath came fast, her heart pounding. Kale, I can feel it too. Something inside me. I can react faster, see better. Is this? He didn't answer immediately. His eyes were focused, muscles tense. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded. Yes, connection, you share blood, energy flows, you adapt. Alara's mind whirled. She had never experienced anything like this. Her senses were heightened. She could hear the faint hum of the shuttle's engines, the soft vibrations in the hull, even the distant movements of the attackers. The fear was still there, but it was sharpened into clarity. She could act, almost as if she were an extension of Kale. The attack intensified. Multiple ships closed in, firing in coordinated patterns. Kale's movements became even more fluid, dodging and weaving. Alara instinctively reached for the auxiliary controls, assisting him, directing power to shields at his subtle gestures. The bond had created something unspoken, a teamwork neither had fully understood, yet both instinctively trusted. One of the attacking ships fired a bolt that grazed the shuttle's hull. Sparks flew across the cockpit. Alara's eyes widened. Kale. He swore under his breath, a guttural sound, and tilted the shuttle sharply. Another ship exploded, caught in the trajectory of their counterattack. Alara felt a rush of exhilaration. Despite the danger, they were unstoppable together. Kale's amber eyes met hers briefly, a silent acknowledgement. Then he dove deeper into evasive maneuvers, weaving through the asteroid field ahead. Alara gasped as jagged rocks whizzed past the windows. She could see the attackers struggling to keep up, their small ships ill-equipped to match Kale's speed and agility. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Finally, Kale found a narrow gap between two massive asteroids. The shuttle slipped through, shaking violently but intact. The attackers followed, but a well-timed maneuver caused one of their ships to collide with an asteroid. Another was forced to retreat. Alara exhaled, her body trembling with relief. We did it, she whispered. Kale's eyes softened slightly, but his focus never wavered. Not safe yet, he said. They will regroup. Alara nodded, understanding the truth. Danger was far from over. But she felt something else now, a confidence, a spark of courage she had never known. The bond between her and Kale had awakened something inside her. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Hours passed in tense silence. Kale guided the shuttle to a hidden sector of space, one few humans had ever charted. Here the stars seemed different, more distant, yet somehow welcoming. Alara studied the patterns on Kale's skin again. They glowed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. She reached out, brushing her fingers along his arm. Kale's eyes flicked to hers. He didn't move away. Instead, he allowed the contact. It was a quiet gesture, yet it spoke volumes. Trust had been formed, not with words, but through action, through shared struggle. Alara, Kale said finally, his voice low and careful, your actions saved my life. Blood shared, rare, precious. Bond formed, we are connected. Alara nodded, her throat tight. I know. I can feel it, and I don't regret it, not for a second. Kale inclined his head. Humans, surprising, brave, selfless, you inspire. Alara felt warmth rush through her. She had always believed in helping others, but hearing it expressed by a Sarathi, someone so powerful, so alien, was different. It made her realize the potential humanity could have if courage and kindness guided their actions. The shuttle continued through the hidden sector, avoiding major routes. Kale explained in simple words that the rogue faction chasing them was well organized, motivated by control over nearby trade routes. They were aggressive, skilled, and relentless. But Kale had seen them before and he knew their weaknesses. Alara listened, fascinated. "So we have a chance?" Kale's amber eyes met hers. "Yes, but only if we are united, trust each other, work together." Alara nodded firmly. She felt the weight of responsibility, not just for herself, but for Kale, for the bond they shared. And deep inside, a spark of excitement flickered. Together, they could overcome this. Together, they could survive. Then came a new alert, a faint signal, almost imperceptible. Kale leaned forward, his fingers moving over the console with expert precision. "Another ship," he said, "unknown, approaching." Alara's heart skipped a beat. "Another one? How many are out there?" Kale did not answer. He was already analyzing, calculating trajectories, preparing for whatever was coming. Alara felt the familiar surge of energy in her chest, a connection she had learned to trust. Together, they would face whatever threat came next. And as the shuttle moved silently through the hidden lanes of space, Alara realized that danger was no longer something to fear. It was a test. A test of courage, of trust, and of the extraordinary potential that humanity could achieve when bonded with another, stronger being. Kale glanced at her once more, amber eyes glowing softly. In that moment, Alara understood something profound. This was only the beginning. The challenges ahead would be greater, more dangerous, but together they were unstoppable. The stars stretched endlessly outside, dark yet full of possibilities. And in the quiet hum of the shuttle, human and Scifi shared a bond that no enemy, no danger could break. The hidden sector of space stretched endlessly before them, dark and silent except for the occasional glint of distant stars. Alara sat in the shuttle, exhausted but alert, her hands gripping the edge of her seat. Every part of her was still buzzing from the chase, the attacks, and the strange bond she shared with Kale. Despite the danger, she could feel strength in her chest she had never felt before. Kale piloted the shuttle with calm precision, his amber eyes scanning every readout. The faint glow of bioluminescent patterns pulsed along his neck and arms, a reminder of the bond they shared. Alara's mind kept drifting back to that first moment when she gave her blood. She had thought it was just a desperate act to save a life. Now it was clear that her choice had changed both of them forever. "Kale," she said cautiously, breaking the silence, "I still don't understand. Why did my blood make such a difference?" Kale's amber eyes met hers, glowing faintly in the dim cockpit light. "Humans rare," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully. "Your blood enzyme, compatible with Scifi, life-given, accelerates recovery, enhances abilities, survival stronger." Alara blinked. "You mean I actually made you stronger?" Kale inclined his head. "Yes, connection, energy flows, life shared, bond formed." Alara swallowed. The reality was staggering. Her simple act of compassion had created something extraordinary, a bridge between human and Scifi, stronger than anything she could have imagined. She felt a mixture of pride, fear, and awe. Before she could speak again, the shuttle's sensors blinked urgently. Kale's head snapped forward. "Incoming," he said sharply. Alara looked at the radar, her stomach dropping. Another fleet of ships was approaching, faster and larger than any they had encountered before. This was no simple chase. These ships were organized, well-armed, and relentless. Kale's body tensed, muscles flexing under his glowing skin. "They know you helped me," he said. "They want control, power, you dangerous to them." Alara felt her heart pound. "Me, why?" Kale's amber eyes held a strange intensity. "Life given freely, unexpected. Threat to plans. Humans underestimated. You inspire change." Alara's chest tightened. She had never thought of herself as important in the grand scheme of the galaxy. And yet here she was, standing between a ruthless faction and the survival of a Scifi warrior. Kale swerved the shuttle suddenly, narrowly avoiding a blast from one of the enemy ships. Sparks flew across the hull. Alara's hands gripped the seat as the shuttle tilted violently. "We can't outrun all of them," she shouted. Kale's jaw tightened. "We don't need to outrun them, we need to outsmart them." Alara watched in awe as Kale activated a sequence of maneuvers that no human pilot could have imagined. He guided the shuttle into a narrow asteroid belt, twisting and turning between jagged rocks at incredible speeds. The pursuing ships struggled to follow, many colliding with asteroids or being forced to retreat. Through the chaos, Kale's focus never wavered. Every movement was precise, controlled, and calculated. Alara could feel her own reflexes sharpening, her body moving instinctively to assist him. The bond was no longer subtle. It was powerful, a shared connection that allowed them to anticipate each other's actions. Finally, they reached a small, hidden space station, concealed within the shadows of a massive asteroid. Kale landed the shuttle smoothly, shutting down the engines. The sudden stillness was almost deafening after the chaos of the chase. Alara exhaled, trembling. "We made it." Kale's eyes flickered as he studied her. "Safe for now, but danger not gone." Alara nodded, understanding the truth. Whoever was after them would not stop. They needed more than a hiding place, they needed a plan. The space station was abandoned, silent except for the hum of the life support system. Alara and Kale moved cautiously through the corridors, scanning for any signs of traps or enemies. Kale's enhanced senses detected subtle vibrations in the walls, faint energy signatures that humans would have missed. "This station empty?" Alara asked. Kale shook his head. "Abandoned but protected. Old technology still functions. We can use it." They reached a small control room filled with dusty consoles and holographic displays. Kale ran his fingers over the panels, bringing them to life. Streams of data filled the air, mapping nearby sectors, enemy movements, and energy patterns. Alara watched, fascinated. Kale's knowledge was vast, precise, and intuitive. "Look at this," Kale said, pointing to a cluster of energy readings. "Rogue faction planning attack. Target, colony, you part of threat. They must be stopped." Alara's eyes widened. "They're going to attack the colony." "All because I helped you." Kale's gaze softened, almost regretful. "Not just you, humans underestimated. Your courage, blood shared, symbol of hope. They fear change, you inspire resistance." Alara's mind raced. She had never imagined that one act of kindness could have such consequences. She felt a weight on her shoulders, a responsibility far greater than herself. But alongside the fear, there was determination. She would not let the colony, or Kale, fall. Kale turned to her, amber eyes glowing faintly. "Alara, I give you gift, return not equal, but power enhance, protect, share life with caution." Alara blinked. "Power, you mean like before?" Kale nodded. "Yes, life shared, bond grows, strengthen mind, body." "Control must learn." Alara felt the warmth in her chest again, the surge of energy flowing through her. Her reflexes sharpened, her senses heightened. She felt stronger, faster, aware of every subtle vibration in the station. The connection was growing, deeper, and more powerful than she could have imagined. As they prepared, Kale explained their plan. They would intercept the rogue faction before they reached the colony, using the hidden station as a base of operations. Alara listened intently, absorbing every detail. She realized that this was not just about survival. It was about strategy, about using her newfound abilities and the bond with Kale to change the outcome of a potential disaster. Hours passed as they prepared weapons, shields, and systems. Alara's mind raced with possibilities. She had never handled alien technology before, yet Kale guided her patiently. Her hands moved with surprising skill, instinctive and confident. Finally, Kale stopped, looking at her. "Ready?" Alara nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Kale's eyes softened, almost human in expression. "Good, we face danger together. Bond strong, you will see. Humans capable of great courage." Alara smiled faintly, feeling a surge of hope and determination. "I'm ready," she said firmly. Together they stepped into the shuttle, weapons loaded, shields activated. The stars outside seemed to shimmer with anticipation. Alara felt the bond with Kale pulse through her, a constant reminder that they were not alone. As the shuttle moved out of the hidden station and into open space, Kale piloted with calm precision. They followed the rogue faction's trail, moving faster and more efficiently than the enemy could expect. Every twist, turn, and calculation was coordinated, the connection between human and Sarathi guiding their actions seamlessly. Suddenly, a massive energy signature appeared on the radar. Alara's eyes widened. "That's huge," Kale's jaw tightened. "Flagship, rogue faction, command vessel, they control fleet from there. We must strike carefully. Too direct, suicide." Alara nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. This was no longer a simple chase. The rogue faction was organized, powerful, and dangerous, but with Kale and the bond they shared, she felt something new, confidence, courage. The belief that together they could face even this. Kale glanced at her, amber eyes glowing softly. Elara, your courage guides, blood shared, strengthens, together unstoppable. Elara felt a warmth spread through her chest, stronger than ever. She had saved a life, formed a bond, and now stood on the edge of something far greater than herself. The rogue faction would soon learn that underestimating humans and the bond of life shared was a mistake they would never forget. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, dark but full of possibility. And in the shuttle, Human and Sarathi moved forward as one, ready to face the coming storm, their bond unbreakable, their courage unwavering. For Elara, for Kale, and for the colony, the next battle would not only test their strength, it would test the power of trust, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. The rogue faction's flagship loomed ahead, massive and menacing, its dark hull cutting through the starlight like a predator stalking prey. Elara gripped the edge of her seat, her heart pounding in her chest. The hidden station had provided a safe place to plan, but now the real danger awaited. Every warning light on the shuttle blinked red. The enemy fleet surrounded them, small ships darting like swarming hornets around the colossal command vessel. Kale's amber eyes were steady, glowing faintly as he scanned the enemy formations. His hands moved over the controls with calm precision, fingers dancing across buttons and touch panels. The shuttle responded instantly, banking and twisting through the void. Elara, Kale said, voice low but firm, we strike carefully, too direct, and we are destroyed. Strategy must guide courage. Elara nodded, her nerves tight but her resolve strong. She could feel the energy flowing through her from their bond, strengthening her senses, sharpening her reflexes, giving her a clarity she had never known. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Together, they were stronger than any enemy. The shuttle moved like a shadow, weaving through asteroids and debris, drawing closer to the flagship. Kale activated the auxiliary shields, redirecting power to the engines and weapon systems. The rogue fleet reacted immediately, firing energy blasts that illuminated the dark void. Each shot whizzed past them, some grazing the shuttle's hull. Sparks flew across the panels, but Kale's control never faltered. Elara instinctively reached for the auxiliary controls. Her heightened reflexes allowed her to assist Kale, managing shield distribution and weapon targeting in perfect coordination. It was as though their minds and instincts were synchronized, the bond between them guiding every move. They're fast, Elara said, her voice tight, but we can do this. Kale's jaw tightened. Yes, together. The flagship loomed larger, its surface covered in defensive turrets and energy barriers. Kale guided the shuttle under its shadow, using the darkness to conceal their approach. Prepare weapons, he said. Target weak points. Concentrate fire. Elara felt a surge of adrenaline. She had never fired weapons at anyone before, yet her hands moved instinctively, guided by the shared energy flowing from Kale. Together, they aimed at the exposed energy nodes along the hull. The first volley hit, sparks flying as the nodes overloaded. The flagship shuddered, energy shields flickering. Alarms blared aboard the enemy vessel. The rogue fleet reacted, trying to surround them, but Kale anticipated their moves, twisting the shuttle through narrow gaps in the debris field. Elara's heart raced as another wave of ships approached. She adjusted the weapon targeting system, predicting their movement with uncanny precision. Each blast found its mark, taking out engines, turrets, and smaller ships with efficiency. They cannot keep up, Kale said quietly, almost to himself. We are stronger than they know. Elara glanced at him, seeing the determination in his eyes. Stronger together, she said, a small smile crossing her face. Suddenly, a massive energy beam shot from the flagship, aimed directly at the shuttle. Elara gasped, but Kale reacted instantly, banking sharply. The beam missed, striking a cluster of asteroids instead, sending fragments hurtling through space. Elara felt her stomach lurch as the shuttle dodged debris. Kale's amber eyes met hers briefly. Trust me, we survive together. Elara nodded. She had no doubt. This bond, the blood shared, the energy flowing, the trust between them, was more powerful than fear. The shuttle circled the flagship, using a combination of speed, stealth, and precise attacks to dismantle the enemy fleet. Smaller ships exploded or retreated, and energy nodes along the flagship's hull were critically damaged. The tide of battle shifted. The rogue faction had underestimated human courage, and now the combined power of Alara and Kale was unstoppable. Kale piloted them closer to the flagship's command center. "We strike now," he said. "Precision, courage, teamwork." Alara readied herself, focusing on the controls and the energy coursing through her. Her reflexes were faster than ever, her senses attuned to Kale's every movement. Together, they guided a focused energy blast directly at the flagship's core. The blast hit perfectly, sending a shockwave across the vessel. The flagship shuddered violently, alarms blaring and sparks cascading across its hull. The rogue fleet faltered, their command disrupted. Panic rippled through the enemy ranks. Kale maneuvered the shuttle away, pulling Alara out of the blast zone. The flagship groaned, energy leaking from its systems, engines faltering. Alara could see the chaos on the radar as remaining enemy ships began to retreat. "We did it," she whispered, barely believing it. Kale's amber eyes glowed faintly, a mixture of relief and focus. "Not over," he said. "Survivors may return, must prepare." Alara felt a warmth spread through her chest, stronger than ever. She had not only fought beside a Scifi warrior, but had become part of something far greater. Courage, trust, and the bond they shared had turned the tide of battle. Humans were capable of more than they realized. As the dust of battle settled, Kale guided the shuttle to a safe orbit around a nearby moon. They landed smoothly on its surface, the shuttle resting in a quiet crater. Alara stepped out, taking a deep breath of the recycled air. The stars stretched endlessly above, calm now after the storm of combat. Kale followed, his movements careful but confident. He approached Alara slowly, amber eyes studying her. Then he did something she had not expected. He reached into a compartment on his armor and pulled out a small, glowing relic. "This for you," Kale said, his voice low and solemn. Alara stared, astonished. The relic pulsed with faint energy, radiating warmth. "What is it?" she asked. Kale's eyes softened. "Symbol. Life given, returned. Gratitude, honor, bond, eternal, humans capable, you inspired." Alara's chest tightened. She had saved Kale's life, and now he was giving her something far more profound than any material object. It was a gift of respect, of recognition, of trust. And in that moment, she understood something she had never realized. Humanity's potential was not measured by weapons or power, but by courage, compassion, and the ability to inspire others. She reached out, taking the relic. A surge of energy flowed through her, not dangerous but enlightening. Her mind felt sharper, her senses more attuned, her heart steady with clarity. She could feel Kale's energy intertwining with hers, a permanent bond of life and trust. "You gave me life," Kale said softly, "and I return it, not equal but true." Tears welled in Alara's eyes, not from fear but from overwhelming gratitude. She had acted on instinct, giving her blood to save a life, never expecting the consequences. And yet the result was extraordinary. She had not only saved Kale but had forged a bond that transcended species, a connection that could change the fate of countless lives. Kale stepped closer, his glowing patterns pulsating gently. "Together we protect. Together we inspire. Humans capable of greatness, you show it." Alara smiled faintly, her heart full. "I couldn't have done this alone," she admitted, "and I wouldn't want to." Kale inclined his head, a gesture that carried respect, trust, and something almost human in its depth. "We stronger together. Life shared unites." They stood side by side, looking out over the barren moon's surface, the stars stretching endlessly above. The battle was over, but its impact would last far longer than the explosions in space. The rogue faction had been defeated, their command disrupted, but more importantly, the story of a human who had shared her life to save a Scifi warrior had begun. A story that would ripple through the galaxy, inspiring courage, trust, and unity. Alara held the relic, feeling its warmth and the strength of the bond it represented. She realized that the true gift Kale had given her was not the relic itself, but the understanding of humanity's potential, the power of selflessness, bravery, and the courage to trust across differences. Kale's amber eyes met hers one last time as they prepared to return to the colony. "We go back, colony safe, bond permanent, you human, remarkable." Alara laughed softly, feeling a lightness she had never known. "Remarkable, maybe, but together, yes. Together, we're unstoppable." As the shuttle lifted off, the stars glowing around them, Alara looked at Kale. She felt hope, courage, and a sense of purpose she had never known before. Humanity was capable of greatness, and she had witnessed it firsthand, not in weapons or in numbers, but in trust, compassion, and the bonds they formed. And in the endless darkness of space, two unlikely allies, a human and a Sarathi warrior, moved forward together, stronger than ever, ready to face whatever the galaxy might bring. For Alara, for Kale, and for the countless lives that would follow, one simple act of courage had sparked a chain of events that proved humanity, even small and seemingly ordinary, could leave an extraordinary mark on the universe.